You may be familiar with the phrase toxic masculinity. It's the idea that our society has deemed certain traits and behaviors as masculine, and encouraging men to adhere to that definition can be unhealthy for men, for women, for everyone, really. For instance, we encourage boys to stifle many of their emotions, and we tell them that it's girly or undesirable to cry, which leads to a whole host of psychological problems for many men in their later years. A recent study has shown yet another downside to toxic masculinity, and I have to say they're really on the nose about the toxic bit here. Marketing researchers found that toxic masculinity may be to blame for men being way less environmentally friendly than women, who are much more likely to recycle, to buy green products, and to not litter. The researchers conducted several different studies involving more than 2,000 people in the US and China. For instance, both males and female test subjects were more likely to consider a person feminine if they brought a reusable bag to the grocery store instead of using plastic. They even thought of themselves as more feminine after they were asked to remember a time that they did something good for the environment. So these first studies established a link between environmentalism and femininity. So the next step was for the researchers to test whether or not that link was enough to discourage men from being green in order to protect their perceived masculinity. The researchers gave men a gift card, and they asked them to buy 3 items: a lamp, a backpack, and batteries, all of which had both green and non-green options. Some of the men were given a regular plain gift card to buy the items, while the other half got a card that threatened their masculinity because it was pink and it had flowers on it. And let's just take a moment to appreciate how fragile masculinity is. A pink card with flowers on it was enough to threaten it. Sure enough, men who were threatened tended to reassert their masculinity by buying conventional products instead of the green products, which were more likely to be bought by the men with the plain gift card. Yep, a pink gift card was enough to dissuade a man from being environmentally friendly. I want to be really clear here that when I'm talking about condemning or mocking toxic masculinity, I'm not criticizing men. Well, not a particular man. This is our society, and like women, men are raised to believe certain truths, even when they're far from true. Men are raised to be tough heroes, just as women are raised to think of themselves as princesses or damsels. And that mindset can be really difficult to shake, even when you know it's bullshit. Ideally, the solution to this problem is to dismantle our society's expectations of men, raising boys to understand that their feelings are natural and normal and in no way make them less manly. We'd also teach everyone that being less manly isn't a bad thing anyway, that there's nothing wrong with being a woman or feeling feminine or wearing a skirt or wearing makeup or owning a cat or any of the other things that we code as feminine. They're not less than. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, at least not this century. So until we get there, the solution is to make sure that masculinity isn't threatened when advertising green products or when encouraging men to adopt green behaviors. I learned an interesting fact while reading up on all this, and of all places, it came from the Reddit comment section, where a user points out that Texas nailed this concept way back in the 1980s. The Texas Department of Transportation wanted to reduce littering along their highways, and they noted that the most frequent litterers were men aged 18 to 35. So they put up signs along the roadways with a brilliant slogan that ended up reducing the total amount of litter by 72% between 1986 and 1990. That slogan? Don't mess with Texas. That slogan went on to become so famous that I've only been to Texas a few times, but I've heard of it, and I had no idea about its origins. In fact, it's still the anti-littering slogan, as you can see by visiting don'tmesswithtexas.org. By making anti-littering a tough, manly thing to do, Texas was decades ahead of the science. And let's be honest, how often can you really say something like that about Texas? Well done, guys.